If you've been told that you have unexplained infertility, this video is for you. Unexplained infertility is not a diagnosis. I'm Dr. Cindy. My husband, Dr. Cody, and I are the doctors behind Fertility for Two, a program that helps couples get pregnant naturally. Our goal is to talk openly and honestly about fertility and the process of trying to conceive. If you've been at this for a while, this might not be news to you, but conventionally, couples are not even sent for a standard fertility workup until they've tried without success for more than 6 months if the woman is over 35, and more than 12 months if she's younger. So that means 6 to 12 precious months of waiting around and guessing your way through the maze. Once that time has passed, then fertility workup starts. And I'm using air quotes because the process is actually quite limited. For women, it usually includes hormone markers like AMH, FSH, LH, estradiol, progesterone, and maybe a TSH. Now, I've worked with many women who have had their tests run on the wrong day of their cycle. Because hormones change day by day, we need to interpret them in the context of your cycle. That's why drawing blood work on specific days is very important. Now, structurally, maybe some imaging is ordered to check if the fallopian tubes are open. On the other hand, men are usually not even looked at until months after the process starts. At that point, typically a basic semen analysis is ordered. That looks at how many sperm there are, how they move, and what they look like. But guess what? That won't give you a full picture either. If all of that comes back in normal range, the conclusion is everything looks normal. You have unexplained infertility. So the next advice is to do a couple of rounds of IUI, which has an average success rate of 10 to 20%. And then do IVF if you still haven't gotten pregnant. By this point, months have passed, so the advice to do IVF now comes with some urgency. The average success rate for IVF is definitely better than IUI. It's 40 to 50% for women under 35. For those between 35 to 40, the average success rate is 20 to 40%. For those over 42 years old, the average success rate is even worse than IUI. It's less than 10% per round. Now, let's circle back to those basic lab tests. They're a good starting point, but the issue is that those tests are not nearly comprehensive enough. They only give you a snapshot of your reproductive hormones, not a full understanding of how your whole body is functioning. And fertility is not one lab value. It's not even 5 lab values. It's about your entire system working together. Think about what has to actually happen for pregnancy to occur. You need a healthy egg that developed properly over the course of the last several months. You need a precise hormonal cascade that tells that egg when to start growing and when to ovulate. You need sperm that are not just present, but capable of moving efficiently to penetrate the egg and carry stable DNA. You need a uterine lining that is ready for implantation at the exact moment in time. You also need an immune system that is flexible enough to allow for implantation and to hold the pregnancy. I haven't even discussed your thyroid, your metabolic processes, your detox pathways, or your nervous system. So all of that cannot be fully evaluated using basic lab tests. Basic lab work doesn't look at insulin and blood sugar regulation in detail, inflammation markers, nutrient status, hormone signaling, advanced sperm function like DNA fragmentation, detailed thyroid function, and immune patterns. So when the doctors say that everything looks normal, what they really mean is everything they checked was normal. And this is where I see a consistent pattern in the couples that we work with. No one sat down to deeply investigate their specific case. So they were never offered additional testing. Not because it doesn't exist, but because the basic tests were normal. So conventionally, there's no reason to look further. My philosophy is that normal does not mean optimal. And normal shouldn't stop the investigation if pregnancy isn't happening. If things are normal now, they were probably normal 6 months ago too. There are many fertility-related conditions that don't present in obvious ways. I see this in my clients all the time. Couples were told everything is fine until we actually look deeper, and then the pattern emerges because you can have endometriosis without painful cycles. You can have PCOS and have regular cycles. You can have thyroid dysfunction with a normal TSH, and yes, you can have a high sperm count with high DNA fragmentation. Any of these underlying issues can make getting pregnant and staying pregnant difficult. In the Fertility for Two program, we don't accept unexplained infertility as a diagnosis. We extensively investigate your fertility, and we customize a protocol specifically for you and your partner because it takes two to tango. At the end of the day, the human body is biologically wired to survive and reproduce in that order. So when reproduction is not happening, there's always a reason. Something in the system is not functioning the way that it should. And instead of asking why pregnancy isn't happening, the conventional model shifts to making pregnancy happen with IVF. And IVF absolutely has a place, but we need to be clear about what it does. It bypasses the natural process. It stimulates mass egg production, retrieves those eggs, fertilizes them outside of the body, and transfers the embryos back into the uterus. It does not address egg quality, sperm quality, implantation potential, or the underlying reason conception wasn't happening in the first place. And that's why IVF success rates are not 100%, which tells us something important. Even with advanced technology and the ability to meticulously control every single step, the underlying biology still matters. And if a couple chooses IVF, their overall health conditions should still be addressed in order to maximize their efforts and increase the odds. Because egg and sperm quality affects embryo quality. The uterine environment affects implantation, and overall physiology affects whether a pregnancy holds. In my humble opinion, the goal should go beyond getting pregnant. We need to also focus on staying pregnant. So don't accept unexplained as an answer. We need to ask direct questions like, what does the metabolic environment look like in both partners? What is their inflammatory load? What are the female's hormones doing during specific times in her cycle? Is she actually ovulating? Because an LH surge doesn't guarantee ovulation. Is the immune system attacking the body? The answer to these questions can alter the trajectory of your fertility and save you months of heartache and disappointment, not to mention the financial burden of fertility treatments. This is exactly why we approach fertility differently. We don't stop at everything looks normal. We look deeper to understand exactly what's happening in your body. If you are ready for a structured plan that investigates the root cause of your fertility challenges, visit the link below. Let's get to work so we can build a protocol specifically for you and your partner to grow your family. From our family to yours, have a fertile day.